Next part of the Unscripted framework is FE, which stands for Fast Lane Entrepreneurship. And these are 5 principles which create a rock solid business. And the term that we can use here is CENTS, CENTS, and they stand for control, entry, need, time, and scale. You're going to learn what each of these mean, and if you can develop these in your business, it will lead to what MJ DeMarco calls productocracy. Essentially, it means that you're so damn good that you grow rapidly. So let's go through the 5 principles needed to reach productocracy. The first one is control, and this is owning what you build. And MJ DeMarco asks, is there one person or entity who can instantly kill your business? And you've seen this happen just recently with a bunch of YouTubers just getting removed from the platform. I'm at risk here because my business doesn't have the element of control, because YouTube can just cancel me whenever they want. The YouTuber and my friend First Man had his previous business literally just deleted because it was a blog which wasn't very secure, and so the entire thing that he worked on was literally just wiped. You have to ask yourself, do you have total control over the livelihood of your business? If your business is on social media, then you don't. And so this principle is all about mitigating the risk. So for example, if you're a YouTuber, one thing you can do to mitigate the risk of being like cancelled and you're deleted off YouTube or TikTok or something is to get people to follow you on multiple platforms. And the best thing you can do is to collect people's email addresses, because that can't be taken away from you with any kind of like cancellation. And the maximum element of control that you can have is when you own everything. Instead of being a YouTuber who uploads his videos onto YouTube, you could make your own entire platform. And that guy that I just mentioned, First Man, he's actually planning to do this. When you control everything, you are far more likely to reach insane levels of success. The second principle of Fastlane entrepreneurship, remember the term sense? The second principle is entry. You want it to be hard. MJ DeMarco says that as barriers to entry weaken, so does the strength of the business. And what this means is that if it's quite easy to enter the business that you're going into, there'll be far more competition, and generally the rewards will be less worthwhile. Imagine you were good at internet marketing like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and you knew how to run profitable ads back then. The competition would have been so much easier to destroy because there was such a lack of understanding. The internet, and especially paying for advertisements on websites, was relatively a new thing back then, like 10, 15 years ago. And so if you were good at it then, and when it was quite difficult to get into that business model, you probably would have destroyed your competition and made a lot of money. So ask yourself, how easy is it to start your business model? For me as a YouTuber, it's somewhat easy to just create a channel and upload your first video, but there is actually quite a big hurdle to posting yourself online, and that's like an obstacle that a lot of people stop at, which means that the entry for being a YouTuber is somewhat in the middle level. Use this principle to remind yourself to not run away from difficulty. If you're starting a business which is quite hard to begin with, that might actually be a good thing, because a bunch of other guys who are considering that business won't go forward. If the business is easy to get into, then you're going to have a lot of competition. The third principle of Fastlane entrepreneurship is need. Entrepreneurship is simple. You literally just find needs and problems that need to be solved, and you charge people for that product or service that you make, which fixes that problem. So ask yourself right now, is your business needed? There needs to be a need, a want, a desire for the value that you can provide to people. Another mediocre cafe or restaurant isn't needed in your city, and that's why you keep seeing them pop up and then disappear again, because they don't make enough profit. They're not needed. But practical, no BS, inspiring, educational content for young men especially is extremely needed. That's why I've popped off so much. You can see that there's such a demand for this kind of like masculine role model. And observing Andrew Tate's success, you can definitely say that there was such a need for the message he was spreading and also the business that he built. Figure out if your business is actually going to be fulfilling a need of the marketplace or not. This is usually where quite unintelligent people who shouldn't be entrepreneurs mess up. They make a business just out of something that they enjoy and then realize that there's no demand for that thing. Nobody cares about your cupcakes or your little passionate endeavor. Is there a need that the marketplace will pay for? The fourth principle of Fastlane entrepreneurship is time. Remember that term that MJ DeMarco made, how'd you say that word? Productocracy. And essentially what he means by that term, productocracy, is that your product or your service or your business is so damn good that it literally just rapidly sells by itself because people like it so much and they're pretty much, referring it, and it just becomes like really viral. For you to achieve that, your business needs to be separated from your time. In the normal scripted life, people's time is tied to their income. So they need to spend time at their job to make money. But you can only become truly rich if you don't need to spend time at like an office or anything to make money. And instead your money comes from things like sales on your website, which could happen whilst you're asleep. It could happen whilst you're not even working. But you have to be careful here, and I want you to be totally honest. This is where a bunch of people, perhaps yourself, get stuck in this search for making passive income. Have you ever went onto YouTube and searched passive income, how to make passive income? Chances are if you have done that, you are a total and utter bro, you're weak. you're weak and lazy. You don't just like search for passive income. Like it's one of the biggest fucking like clickbait lies these days. Don't search and try to get passive income. Passive income is something you achieve after you ruthlessly work hard and dedicate your life to a business for like 2 years first, and then that business becomes so successful that it starts to like run without your direct time. But even then, you know, you think like, okay, YouTube is passive income, and it technically is. I don't need to work today, but I'll still make money from YouTube today. You know, my old videos will still keep making money, but it's not totally passive income, because if I just don't work at all, then the income will go down. So it's like semi-passive income. It's not something that you should try and pursue straight away when you're making a business. You should be pursuing active income first, working really, really hard, and then with a huge level of success in your business, that business's active income starts making some passive income. The fifth and final principle of fast lane entrepreneurship that MJ DeMarco teaches us in this book is scale. Scale is just being able to make money from way more people than you probably could in like a normal shop kind of business. Like if you imagine a restaurant, they don't really have high scale. How many customers could they possibly get per day? Maybe 100, 200, 300 absolute max. That would be like the craziest day in the restaurant's history was like 200 people came through the door. It's very unlikely like some normal restaurant is ever going to achieve that. And that's just 200. But with certain businesses, especially the ones that are online, especially kind of social media businesses, the scale's right there. This video that you're watching right now is an aspect of my business. And look at the scale of it. Look at the views of this video and compare that to maybe the 100 or 200 people that a restaurant would affect. You can see the scale of an online business is magnitudes higher than any kind of like in-person store. So that can be the same as being an author and selling books, or growing a podcast, or selling an online product, or having affiliate marketing. Using online businesses, you can literally have millions of people who like you and who would buy from you, and that is so powerful. So that was the 5 principles of creating like a very successful fast lane entrepreneurship kind of business. And that was control, entry, need, time, and scale. You want to try and get as many of these 5 for the business that you're trying to pursue. Go through each one again and verify if your business model has or doesn't have each one. Can you work out which of the principles of sense I have as a YouTuber? The next part of the Unscripted framework